Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second panel on research data literacy and socio-economic development, Sub-Saharan Africa perspective. I'm Florio Argilias. I'm a research associate at the Cornell Center for Social Sciences. I'll be your chair this afternoon. We can also call this session the IASSIST Fellows Show, because all of our panelists are actually either current IASSIST Fellows or past Fellows. This session will be moderated by Mr. Paul K. Ngetich. Paul is the Director of Information and Research Services of the Parliament of Kenya, which hosts the departments of Research, ICT, Library, Printing and Publishing, and the Parliamentary Broadcasting. He previously served as Senior Research Officer at Parliamentary Research Service as one of the pioneer staff who helped to set up the department. He also previously worked in various ministries and departments of government, including as part-time lecturer at Kenyatta University, and a lecturer and trainer in several middle-level colleges, and a teacher in several secondary schools. He has trained in leadership, training and development, management and public administration, and parliamentary practices and procedures. He has published articles in international journals as well. Paul?
Thank you very much. I think as we wait for another panelist, I think we already have one. I think we would better start with the one which is ready as we wait for one of the panelists. So thank you very much, Chair. I think I would like to introduce one of the panelists, who is already ready here. And I think the discussion here, topic here has been mentioned. So let me just quickly do the. Our first panelist will be Lucas Hertzog, is it? I hope I'm able to pronounce Hertzog. Dr. Hertzog is a quantitative sociologist based at the Adolescence Accelerators Research Hub in the Center for Social Science Research at the University of Cape Town, South Africa. He holds a PhD and MSc in sociology and a bachelor's in science and social sciences from the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil. I hope I'm able to pronounce that. His research focuses on social protection for adolescents in Sub-Saharan Africa. He received the 2022 IASSIST Fellowship Award and is interested in advanced statistical methods using large survey data and collaborative solutions to protect children and adolescents personal information across the data life cycle. That is Dr. Lucas Hertzog, who is going to be our first panelist for today. So I think let me not take my time, but welcome him to do the presentation. Karibuni. That is Kiswahili in Kenya.
I think you're left. Thank you, Florio, and also thank Paul. I'll just open my slides here. Good afternoon, everyone. And today with this beautiful picture of our campus at the University of Cape Town, I would like to discuss some of our ideas about research data literacy and socio-economic development through Sub-Saharan African perspectives. One of the things I would like to discuss today, sorry?
We'll give panelists 15 minutes. That is as per the instructions given.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I would like to divide my presentation here in two to speak a little bit about our topic. And the first, I would like to discuss the wide aspects and the wider concept about data literacies, particularly looking at youth and adolescents and children in Sub-Saharan Africa, which is my main topic of research. And second, I would like to speak specifically about data literacies for research, and I'll bring some examples from early career researchers at the University of Cape Town. And when I say here early career researchers, I think this is a very wide concept. I have met some people, they consider themselves early career researchers and they are in their 50s. I think for funding purposes, this has a wide scope. But what I mean here is research assistants, bachelor students, undergraduate students, and people who are initiating their process of conducting research and learning the process. So in terms of data literacies in Sub-Saharan Africa, I think there are some key aspects in terms of access and opportunities for accessing and understanding data. First, data literacy, it's a concept that is closely connected to educational opportunities, and how students access content outside school and also inside school. And it's closely linked in Sub-Saharan Africa and in most countries to future employment and opportunities for job seeking. Also, data literacies influence how youth, particularly I'm looking at youth, how they manage and they construct and they engage in social networks. And this is one of the main aspects that data literacy or lack of data literacy could lead to. And also one of the particular aspect that we are exploring at our research projects, it's how data literacy influence access to multiple services. And here, health services, transport, and social protection. And just to give you an example, one of our lines of investigation is trying to understand how adolescents adhere to antiretroviral treatments, the ones who are living with HIV, using mobile technologies. So we have to grasp what kind of knowledge they need to have to access such kind of information, which we call mHealth information. Particularly in Sub-Saharan Africa, there are key challenges before data literacy could be accomplished. First, it's poor infrastructure. Data also access to laptops and desktop computers, it's very low. So most surveys conducted in Sub-Saharan Africa to access digital literacy, they are conducted trying to understand access to digital technologies, broadly speaking. So if you have a mobile phone, or if you share a mobile phone, or if the household has access to a mobile phone, and people, it's quite different from the perception of the data literacy in European countries, for example. So access to laptops and desktop computers, it's quite challenging in the continent, also related to poor infrastructure, because you need to have reliable energy sources for you to have a laptop and a desktop computer so you can access internet and learn in the process of doing so. And also, the internet costs are extremely high in comparison to other countries. And this is one of the main challenges for youth to access digital technologies and learn in the process of accessing. Just to give you an example here, just capture the share of the population using the internet in 2019 in Sub-Saharan Africa. This number increased a lot. I'm not sure exactly how much, but we've seen during our research projects that more adolescents started to use digital technologies during the pandemic because they wanted to access information about education and also health, trying to understand what was COVID. So, but still the access is extremely low. And as data literacy, nowadays it's completely linked with access to internet. I think this is a good proxy for us to understand the challenges for the future in terms of expanding the infrastructure to access, for people to access internet, and also for them to use digital technologies. There is one component that's quite interesting to me, which is how data literacy is connected to social integration. And here we've seen in our studies that data literacy is intrinsically linked with schooling, and also not just going to school, but going to good schools and progressing at school. Because this is, I think it's a very important component for us to track if adolescents are dealing well with digital technologies and also learning in this process. Also, job seeking, because we know that nowadays the internet, it's a fundamental tool for us to find jobs. And it's not different for youth in Sub-Saharan Africa. If you want to look for a job, you need to know how to search and also the criteria and where to search. So it's highly impactful digital literacy for job seeking behavior. Also, access to information. I think this is a key component for social integration. People need to be aware of what's going on in their country, in their region, in their municipalities. And this will, of course, could lead to civic participation and also political engagement, particularly looking at youth, adolescents, and also children. So in terms of the data literacy, I think this is quite a common sense, but I think it's good for us to stress what we are saying when we are talking about data literacy. And I think there are three major components for us to tackle. First, it's the social-emotional dimension of data literacy, which is related to the experiences in the use of digital artifacts. And I say here digital artifacts because it could be wearable devices, computers, smartphones, and tablets. So whenever we are trying to capture any forms of data literacy measures and levels in the continent, I think we need to try to understand this multiple aspects of how to interact with digital artifacts. And this, we were analyzing the digital skills framework developed in the European Union, and we saw that it was quite focused on moving folders in a computer, creating a Word document, creating a spreadsheet, but this needs to be adapted to the Sub-Saharan African context, because the way people use digital technologies are quite different, because they don't have much access to desktop computers and laptops, as I mentioned before. The second approach, the second dimension about data literacy, which is quite important, is the technical one. And here is what I mentioned previously about the digital skills indicator. So when we are formulating our questionnaires to ask adolescents how they use digital devices, we try to incorporate this digital skills indicator by these three components: the information skills, the communication skills, and also the problem-solving skills, with the caveat that this needs to be adapted to the context in which people use much more mobile devices, mobile phones, smartphones, than other devices. And the third dimension for data literacy, which is quite important for us to stress, is the cognitive approach. And here, one of the key components that we found during research process, the research projects about how to access digital technologies, was that young people, they have critical reflections about their performance, and they're quite critical on the way they use digital technology. Sometimes they get upset because they cannot access the information, and mostly they cannot access sometimes because they don't have access to data, which is something that is quite important. But there are some initiatives, for instance, in South Africa, that the government is studying a proposal for having free access data, at least 10 gigabytes per month per citizen. So this is it's a project that's going on in the parliament now, and it will be a form of social protection. And I think it's quite interesting that we see access to digital technologies as a form of social protection. This is linked now to the connection with data literacy and socio-economic development. We also know that all advanced practices of production are linked to no longer conventional manufacturing as it was like 100 years ago. Nowadays, whenever a country is is innovating, is in a vanguard, we know that this country is dealing with the knowledge economy. Manufacturing is not the best standard nowadays for understanding the level a country is at, and I think this also relates to how the Sub-Saharan Africa in general could make a U-turn in this process, inserting itself in the knowledge economy. And as we see through the perception of Mangabeira Unger, one of the authors I'm citing here, he mentions that the knowledge economy nowadays works through insular vanguards, leading to economic stagnation and also inequality. And for this process to shift, of course, data literacy, it's a major component, particularly looking at young people who are going to be the next generation of job seekers and also employees. In terms of the data literacy for research that I'd like to mention, just to finalize my presentation, we've been noticing in the last 3 years that I'm working with cohorts of young researchers at the University of Cape Town, that one of the major challenges is to have basic skills, which is something quite disturbing, in fact, for you when you find like undergraduate students that don't know how to track changes in a Word document. And this is a component that delays a lot their progress during university. And also one of the things that are quite challenging for us is to teach advanced methodologies, particularly in statistical analysis, because this is not only related to data literacy, but also to research methodology, statistical knowledge, algebra, and things that are pre-undergraduate level. So one of the recent challenges the recurrent challenges that we see with this cohort of students and young early career researchers is one of the things I believe librarians could support a lot, which is the use of reference managers. I think this is something students, sometimes they finish their undergraduate studies and they don't know how to use a reference manager. Also how to curate data, how to find reliable information, how to exclude predatory journals from their research projects, and so on and so forth. And of course, academic writing, I think it's one of the most challenging things when you see in early career researchers looking for data and also curating the data and writing about this. Just to densify this, one of the things I mentioned before was the use of methodologies, and particularly there are two tools that we use on a daily basis, which are statistical packages, Stata and R, for instance, but you also have SPSS, and it's quite difficult for teaching students on how to clean data and prepare their data for data analysis. And I think this is one component that could lead to collaborations between librarians and also people like information scientists to support students that are conducting research projects, and also how to present data. I think this is also a challenge for everyone. I was just reading the Lancet from the last edition, and I saw some graphs that I kept wondering, how could they publish this kind of graph, you know? So I think we need to improve the levels of data visualization. And one of the solutions we are finding and the things we are implementing with this cohort of 10 early career researchers is peer support. I think this is quite important. Data literacy can be learned through peer support, and for them to be working in pairs and also in trios and supporting each other's work. And also, of course, the capacity building sessions focusing on research data skills, which is something that we do in collaboration with the library services at the University of Cape Town. It's improving a lot their capacity to do research. So I think it's time. Thank you very much.
No, I think what was the planner. Maybe we keep questions until the end of the presentation so that you summarize questions, or how do you want plenary? We do it at the end? Okay, thank you. So I think we are trying to connect to one of the presenters who is outside and via Zoom, and then we. Share.
Let's go. I'm back.
Okay.
Yes.
We wanted to connect to the online presenter.
Oh, the online.
Yes. That becomes.
Yeah, the online presenter tune. You may share your screen.
That then we can have the. Maybe we can have him.
Hello, just give me a minute. I can share my screen. Thank you.
Sorry, yeah, we got the order. I got the order confused. You're welcome to share your screen.
That is Mr. Adetoun Oyelude, is it?
Hello, can
Hello?
you hear me now? Is my screen shared, please?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Let me see what's going on
We
here.
can hear you, but we don't have your screen.
Okay, let me see how I can share my screen.
When you share your screen, which option did you select?
I just clicked on share. and it says you are screen sharing. And I think I clicked on the on what I wanted to share. However, it looks like it's not coming on. I don't know why.
No, it's on for the Zoom participants, but it's not on our screen here in the.
Oh, for Wova.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to now join in Wova? When I join in Wova, it gives me an error message.
Co-host.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps somebody else could go on while we. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. We just have to bring this Zoom window over. Sorry. Yep, you said if you start your presentation now. Hello?
Prata mycket menar.
Hello? Your screen is showing now.
Hello.
Hello?
Okay. My screen is showing now.
Yeah, but it's not the presentation screen. It's still in PowerPoint mode. So if you start.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Let me mute again. Oh boy.
Okay. No, this is our screen.
Oh,
No,
is it fine now?
no.
Not
It's,
yet.
oh, yeah, there it is. Oh, it's good. Perfect.
Thank you. I'm sorry for the delay.
Yeah, so Mr. Adetoun.
Mrs.
Yeah, Mrs. It
Yes,
is.
please.
It is not written properly.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we are welcoming you to the presentation, and we are giving you 15 minutes. We don't have your biography. Maybe briefly in 1 minute
Wow.
you can inform the
Introduce
participants. Yeah, we
myself.
don't. Yes, I think you will take
Okay.
a minute or 30 seconds to briefly give the participant. I mean the plenary here your brief biography, and then you start. We are giving you 15 minutes.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yes, please. And I think I've started my video so you can see that I am Mrs. Adetoun Oyelude.
No, it was not clear at first, but now I can see.
Thank you. Yes, I am a deputy university librarian in the Kenneth Dike Library, University of Ibadan in Nigeria. I work in the Reader Services Department as the head of the section. I am a fellow of the IASSIST 2019, was in Australia. And actually it is also from there that the Africa section, the interest in the Africa regional section was awakened. And after that, we were able to also participate in the Africa Regional Conference in Uganda in 2020. And so I will be speaking on data literacy awareness in Sub-Saharan Africa, West Africa in focus. I need to change this slide.
And you can proceed now, and then you have 15 minutes, yeah.
Thank you. Now I don't know what's going on with this slide, but my next slide, I'm going to be introducing the topic. Basically, I will be talking about what happens or what is happening in West Africa, in the West African region. And what really happened was that after the conference in Uganda, where myself and a colleague presented on the policy issues and what it will entail to get data literacy awareness across to librarians and information specialists across Africa in order to increase the participation of data professionals. We now conducted a short survey of the participants at the Ugandan conference. And the essence is for data literacy to be made sort of put in the front burner. Because what we find out is that there is a lot of data out there, but it is not being used and it is not being harnessed properly for decision making. And therefore, it is hampering development, especially as it concerns the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And so here we're trying to generate ideas from participants at that conference. And we had a short survey, and I have done up the data and brought up the suggestions for how we can move forward. Now, looking at West Africa, we are just starting off a new arm of the Africa section in West Africa. And therefore, myself and other colleagues who are also interested have decided that we were going to host the West Africa workshop October this year. I'll be talking a little bit more about it later as we go along. And so, if we want practical steps to creating awareness for data literacy in West Africa, we have to set our personal goals. We want to ensure that we will have all the data in a national database. If every country could have a national database for data gathering all the knowledge, all the data, all the things that we have been talking about in some of these sessions that have already gone on, using the techniques and the expertise of data professionals, gather them in the database, and then we now have like a mega data bank where everybody can go to find out information on whatever they want, whether it is political information, social information, agricultural information, whatever. And therefore gather the knowledge and then provide access to this information through various means and methods. And that is where libraries, librarians, and other documentalists come in. At the conference in Uganda, it was stated that we need to also look at the indigenous knowledge gathering, especially in the African context, because we have a lot of knowledge that needs to be documented and put in a form that people can access. So I will also be speaking about the West African Regional Conference. Now, we will need to train others in data literacy. Apart from creating awareness, we train others on how to be data literate, how to make use of this information. So libraries and other information or heritage institutions need to be up and doing. We can borrow strategies from other regions. I'm thinking in terms of West Africa, probably collaborating with East Africa and South Africa and other portions of Africa. I know there is a knowledge caravan being worked upon by a colleague in Kenya. She's called Nerissa. She has the knowledge caravan. And that is also basically doing what we are doing here in another form. We also need to seek legislation for the policies, because if you don't have policies backing or instituting some of these data literacy things we are talking about, nothing will happen. And the strategies that are brought about need to be implemented. So we have to look at all sorts of methods of getting this awareness across to everybody. The data literacy survey that I spoke about a while ago that came out of the Uganda conference, I'm just picking one of the questions that were answered. And that was, how would you teach data literacy to persons who are not data professionals. And the main reason or the main strategy given was to hold training workshops to meet the non-data professionals at their workplaces and offer hands-on training to them, to review existing online content that relates to data literacy, or to create online course content ourselves. Also, we could use data carpentry in this training and create digital and for print infographics to help us in the teaching of data literacy. The methods and all sorts of techniques that will need to be used definitely have to do with technology, most of it. And therefore, even for those who are non-techie people, they will need to be trained on how exactly to be data literate. And therefore, it is very important for all of us to take advantage of technology. Just as the previous speaker said, that artificial intelligence and robotics could even be applied here. You may want to say, what about those who don't know anything at all? You can see here, we have a picture of children. Children nowadays, they handle our tablets, they do all sorts of things. And therefore, it should be fairly easy for us to swing into action. We saw what happened when we had the corona and everybody was shut up. And now everybody has had to use technology. So we should take advantage of that. And that's what we are planning in the West Africa region. And therefore, we have the West Africa workshop coming up in Ibadan, Nigeria, right where I am. We are planning it for the 4th to the 7th of October. The theme is data literacy and the 4th industrial revolution. That will be the second IASSIST Africa Regional Workshop. The first one I said held in Uganda. And so I have details here. They are already called for papers for that conference, and we are expecting everybody. I'm sure many of you there in Sweden, I think you should try and come to Nigeria and participate in this workshop as well to help us move ahead. The links to the conference, we actually had closed the submission of abstracts on the 22nd of May, but we've extended it to the 12th of June. You have the link here to submit abstracts, and then registration for the West Africa workshop is also here. We would have hands-on training. We will also have lightning talks. We'll just follow the IASSIST tradition just as it comes. And so we're expecting everybody to participate in this. Jan Shannon, the overall president, is going to be our keynote speaker. And we are having another keynote speaker from South Africa, as well as one of our professors from Ibadan here at that conference. I will conclude by saying that West Africa is ready for action. The upcoming conference is a booster for us. We have been setting positive goals. We are planning positive activities, and we will certainly be executing positive projects in terms of getting our members to bring along their friends so that we have more members in IASSIST. We have more people working on data literacy. We actually are also liaising with the Nigerian Library Association and the African Library Association, AFLIA, in doing some of these projects. We will be collaborating on all the positive platforms to attract further action in the West Africa region. And so I would say our recommendations are to set goals, we plan, we implement, we sustain and maintain what we have. We monitor the effect of what we've done. We are going to evaluate, improve upon whatever we have done, and then go back and write more goals. And we certainly will not forget to leverage on technology, any kind of technology, to help us with data literacy in Africa. And I say, data literacy is achievable in Africa So let's go. Thank you so much for listening. And if there are questions, I'm here to help answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think you will be patient with us to wait for another 15 minutes so that if there are any questions that will be posed
Okay.
on this presentation. We only have one more presenter, and then after that, we go to the QA session. So be patient with us as we finish the presentations so that we go to the question session. Thank you very much. We will now welcome Juana. Our next presenter is Dr. Robert Buwule. Stallone. Yes, he's a senior assistant librarian at Kyambogo University, Uganda. He is currently leading the library ICT section at the university. Dr. Buwule is a published author of several peer-reviewed journals, journal articles, books, chapters, and conference papers. He was one of the executive members of ULIA 2012-2016. Maybe you will tell us what ULIA is later. He was on the organizing committee of the CESAR, 2018 conference and the IASSIST African Workshop 2021. His interest and research work relates with ICT, 4D, management of information and information institutions, culture and society, data literacy, easing information access, disability, information services, research and innovation, information services, and entrepreneurship. So welcome, Dr. Buwule, to make the presentations. We have 15 minutes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair, for that warm introduction. And good evening, colleagues, both here and online. Yeah, like he has introduced me, I'm from Kyambogo University in Uganda. ULIA stands for Uganda Library and Information Association. And for those who don't know, SCESCO is the Standing Conference of Eastern and Central African Library Associations. So in the next 15 minutes, I'll be presenting before you research data literacy and socio-economic developments in Sub-Saharan Africa, the Ugandan perspective. I may also broaden it a bit to include the East African region. That will be the presentation outline that I'll follow. Because of time, I will not read through it. I'm going to use a historical perspective. Like some of my colleagues have mentioned, data literacy is somehow a new concept, most especially in Uganda. Before 2017, there were isolated initiatives done individually, but in that year, we started seeing data literacy activism, whereby people who had passion for this concept or this approach of data literacy came together to create awareness and also create to sensitize others to polish these skills. So this all started when stakeholder meetings with colleagues were initiated to advocate for visibility as far as research data literacy was concerned. And this went on, and because we didn't have enough funding, they thought of coming up with a proposal to seek for funding from IASSIST to organize these sensitization meetings. And good enough, IASSIST responded and it funded. And in that same year, we were able to see sensitization meetings going around in the 4 regions of Uganda. And some of the key partners in these initiatives were the National Library of Uganda and the East African School of Labor and Information Science, together with the Parliament of Uganda. This gave birth to the IASSIST African chapter that was created in 2020. My colleague Ade mentioned something about this. So this is also some of the things that triggered the need for this chapter in Africa. And as we speak now, we also have a website. If you Google, you'll be able to see it. And if you want more information on the IASSIST African chapter, you'll find it on the website. So after the creation of that chapter, we had different interests and themes. One of it was the integration of data literacy in the LIS curriculum, because we discovered that most of the traditional librarians had no idea of what data literacy is. And the best way to mitigate this problem was to integrate data literacy in the curriculum. So still, we continued with the consultative meetings with key stakeholders, and we engaged the academicians, most especially at the Makerere University Library School and the Kyambogo and others. And as we speak now at Makerere University, they have approved the integration of data literacy in the LIS curriculum. So what remains is to send it to the National Council of Higher Education so that it is accredited as a module under the curriculum of Labor and Information Science. We've had a number. My colleagues already mentioned something about the first African regional workshop, which took place at Makerere University in January 11th to 13th, 2021. Actually, it was supposed to take place in 2020, but because of COVID, it was extended. And bearing in mind the circumstances that were prevailing, we managed to have participants from the different parts of Africa, Eastern, Western, and Southern, 50 of them. We also had some from US and Italy, and some of them are here. And already we know it did stop there. We shall be having the second version of this one in 2022, as the previous speaker has spoken. Out of this workshop, we managed to have 9 scholarly papers published as a special issue in the IASSIST quarterly in 2021. Some of the themes published among those papers were research data management, data sharing, data management plans, data dissemination. And some of the participants of that workshop were special editors of that issue. Another initiative that has been going on for some time are webinars that are organized by the African chapter. That was one of them that took place in November 2021, and the theme was research data management. Other webinars rotated around data science, SDGs, the 4th Industrial Revolution, COVID-19, and so on and so forth. So in all this, we think that if we continue with these initiatives, there are quite a number of benefits that we can achieve as the Sub-Saharan African region. One of it is sponsorship. Like Lucas, my colleague here, I'm also one of the fellows for this 2022 IASSIST workshop. So we believe that if we garner this, we shall get more fellows from the African region. We shall also be able to network, like some of us who are still beginning and trying to embrace this concept. If we network with those who have already gone a step further, we shall get some technical help. We shall have more African regional workshops, maybe in Northern Africa, in Southern Africa, and so on. And as we get more exposure, we shall also have more funding for local IASSIST events. Some of the challenges, like some of the previous speaker have spoken, we are still expressing some resistance to embracing this concept of research data literacy, and most especially among the traditional librarians, there's that resistance to change. Then there's also an issue of infrastructure, which lends itself to funding. It's still a big challenge. Some people, when you talk about data literacy, they associate it with statistics, and many of them who have a phobia for mathematics think it is too technical for them. So that's another challenge. And also they still we lack legal framework or policies, most especially in universities. When you talk about opening data, sharing data, reusing data, they will ask you, where's the policy? What's the legal framework for that? So that's another challenge we're experiencing. Some of the future prospects, if we address some of those challenges, we hope that maybe we shall host more of Codata summer schools in Africa. There have been some in Southern Africa, in South Africa specifically, but I've not seen much of them in East or West Africa. So I think they need to move around the rest of Africa. Then we hope that this issue of integrating data literacy and curriculum should be followed through, so that the current students who are doing library and information science embrace this concept. We need to lobby for more institutional support, conduct more short courses in the data literacy, stir up interest among librarians as far as research data literacy is concerned, and also initiate collaborations. So thank you, colleagues, for listening to me. Welcome.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. for I think we have worked within the time. And I think now this is the right time to make some interventions in form of questions so that our presenters can respond. But all what you notice that this presentation on data literacy is very, very important. And because in the morning we were informed that data is a raw fact. It can only make meaning once it has been analyzed and interpreted, so that one is able to understand what the data is all about. And I think this conversation is quite very opportune in terms of some of us who are attending this conference for the first time. And let me take this opportunity to welcome questions so that our presenters can make a response. Yes, yes. There's
I'm actually not sure whom to address this question to. Yeah, one of you might have the answer. Maybe, yeah, Stallone was your name. Yeah, for the because you presented something about the IASSIST West Africa workshops. I just wonder, is there any regional African cooperation projects for data sharing, like data catalogs where researchers from different countries share data, or metadata catalogs where, I don't know, students or researchers can access the data like we have, for example, in Europe, CESTA, or the USA, ICPSR. Are you familiar with that? Are there any initiatives for it? Is there something existing, I don't know, in West Africa or South Africa? No.
Maybe let me try to check whether Mrs. Oyelude is with us. Mrs. Oyelude, are you still with us?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
I'm with you.
And I hope you are getting the question, so that if you have any
Yes,
intervention.
I'm taking down the questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you want me to answer immediately?
Maybe you can start and maybe the other panelists can supplement.
Okay. The answer to that question is that we are just starting, at least in West Africa. As I said during my presentation, we are like just about 6 or 7 librarians and information specialists who have just started like getting people involved in doing this. We have one proposal at proposal level. We are thinking that we will work with the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics and the NITDA, the Nigerian Institute of Technology Development Association in Abuja, in working out something. What happens mainly in Nigeria is that there are little pockets of activity in some institutions, and therefore we are looking at having something on a cooperative level. But of course, we have also started or tried to start some consortia amongst libraries in terms of sharing their catalogs, for example, or sharing data that can be given out to the general public. So these things are still in their infant stage. And of course, we will be looking for funding for these projects. Thank you.
Is it? Yeah. I think just to complement our colleagues' response, I think there's one great initiative at University of Cape Town called Data First. It's a repository of large survey data, open access, it's public, you can access and just download it. And then you have like popping out different data initiatives such as Afrobarometer, also at the University of Cape Town, with large survey data about political attitudes, democracy, and access to data, it's quite easy. It's not open access, but if you send an email, you can request access for incorporating into other databases. But I think your question is more about one platform that could integrate this, and I think this is a very good project to be funded, and it's a very good idea to develop, because I'm not aware of any platform that does that, because this would require a lot of coordination, perhaps with the African Union or the Southern African Development Community. Because of course there's no union like the European Union, which make things easier, legally speaking. So I see that with data spreads in a variety of countries and universities, the best thing is to get like from at the country level. At the country level, there are some initiatives, but I'm not aware of like an African database center.
The Buwule, you seem to have no other. Okay, so next question from the. I don't know whether any of the online team has a question to raise. Maybe if there is one, you can go ahead. Yeah, no. Okay. I saw a hand from that end. You wanted to say something? Okay. We don't seem to have any other question. So I think if we don't have any more questions, let me thank the team which are here in person and those who are on Zoom. Thank you very much for this opportunity which I was granted to moderate, even after attending for the first time. So I think we thank each and everyone. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.